A very good evening to all our viewers and welcome to tonight's edition of Primetime News coming to you live from our Newsfirst studios in Colombo. I'm Arundhati Mudannaika. Let's start off with a look at the stories making headlines this evening.
Fisherfolk in Jaffna protest at sea to protect the Sea of Sri Lanka. Is Sri Lanka a colony of India? Vimal Veeravansa raises concerns.
සම්පූර්ණයෙන් අපේ රට ඉන්දියාවේ 29 වෙනි ප්‍රාන්තය බවට පත් කිරීමේ මෙහෙයුම මේ දියත් කරගෙන යන්නේ.
No crisis in purchasing paddy, says businessman Dudley Sirasa.
We මිලගෙන කතා කරනවා විපක්ෂයේ දේශපාලන පක්ෂ ගොවියෝ කවුරුත් කතා කරන්නේ නැහැ.
No proper price for paddy, farmers allege.
ට්‍රැක්ටර් කුලී බූත කුලී යන මොන දීලා ඉවරනකොට අර ශ්‍රමයවත් නෑ.
CEB made profits over 70 billion in the last 3 months of 2023. PUCSL to meet tomorrow once again to discuss electricity tariff reduction. Sri Lanka seeks 5-month hold on Hamilton Reserve Bank bondholder lawsuit.
And now the stories in detail. Fisherfolk in Jaffna today took action against Indian fishermen entering the Sea of Sri Lanka and pillaging our marine resources. Stepping away from going out to sea for fishing today, the fisherfolk went out to sea bearing black flags as a mark of protest. Fisherfolk in several areas in Tamil Nadu were not allowed to go fishing by the officials in those areas today due to the protest staged by Sri Lankan fisherfolk.
Indo-Lanka fishing controversy.
Fisheries associations in Jaffna staged a protest today, claiming that their livelihoods are severely affected by Indian fisherfolk illegally entering the Sea of Sri Lanka and fishing there. Fisherfolk set out to sea from Vadamarachi East, Vetrilekeni, Point Pedro, Palali, Madakal, Karinagar, Kites and from the Delph Island in Jaffna to stage the protest.
Sea of Sri Lanka.
The Sea of Sri Lanka. This is our sea. However, the Indo-Sri Lanka fishing issue has aggravated. Indian fisherfolk are pillaging our marine resources on a daily basis. Fisherfolk from Point Pedro are preparing to stage a peaceful protest against this. They stress that the pillaging of the Sea of Sri Lanka must stop. We are ready to go out to sea with them. Come with us.
Fisherfolk from 14 fisheries associations in Point Pedro joined the protest.
Right now we are in the sea off Point Pedro. We will be travelling for another 11 nautical miles in search of a solution for this Indo-Sri Lanka fishing issue. These fishermen are staging this protest along the border with India as officials have failed to come up with any solution to this issue for several years.
ඉන්දියානු සාගර කලාපය ආසන්නයට ගිහිල්ලා තමන්ගේ විරෝධතාවය පළ කරන්නේ.
I asked the Minister of Fisheries, why can't you nab the fishing boats that cross the border? They can seize 50 to 60 boats with the approval of the Ministry of Defence. There are some Tamil politicians who distance themselves when they speak about the issue of the fisherfolk. We ask them to support us in this. Not only Tamil politicians, even the Sri Lankan government is believing the government of India.
Fisherfolk from fisheries associations in Vadamarachi East, Vetrilekeni and Aliyavale staged their protest in the seas of Vetrilekeni.
Our livelihoods have been lost. The government, the Navy and our minister must take steps to completely do away with this practice of bottom trawling.
Fisherfolk from Palali North, Alavai, Kankasanthre, Mailitti and Urani set out to the maritime border with India and staged a protest.
Politicians in Tamil Nadu are the ones who are doing these things. It is with their power that the fisherfolk cross the border. It is all right if they do these things in their sea, but they are destroying our marine resources.
Fisherfolk from Madakal, Sendankulam and Sulipuram went out to the sea and staged a protest.
We have informed India that our fishing equipment and our livelihoods are being destroyed, but they continue to come from India and destroy our resources. This must be stopped immediately. The protests in India should also stop. Also, permitting these fishermen to engage in these illegal practices should also stop. The protest staged by them is of no meaning to the Navy.
Fisherfolk in Karainagar stressed that the government should take steps to prevent Indian fisherfolk from entering the Sea of Sri Lanka. Fisherfolk in Kurunagar set sail from the Kites jetty and registered for the protest at the Karainagar jetty, and they sailed to the border at the Delft Island. The fisherfolk then staged their protest in the area between Delft and Nainativ Islands, an area that is frequented by encroaching Indian fisherfolk. Fisherfolk who set sail from the Delft jetty also joined the protest.
Indo-Lanka fishing controversy.
Over 500 fishing boats were seen docked at the Pamban and Mandabam jetties in the Ramanathapuram district of India. Indian media reported that over 5,000 Indian fisherfolk did not go out to sea today.
The administration of the district has informed our fisherfolk not to engage in fishing activities in a manner that would harm the people in Sri Lanka. Through our fisheries organizations, we have advised everyone not to cross the border. It is hurtful that the fisherfolk of both countries are quarrelling like this. We stopped issuing permits to go out fishing from Pambam because of this protest. Indo-Lanka fishing controversy.
Indian fisherfolk who continuously cross the border and encroach into the Sea of Sri Lanka are apprehended by the Sri Lankan Navy and handed over to the relevant officials. In the first 3 months of 2024, around 88 Indian fisherfolk have been arrested and 12 Indian fishing vessels have been impounded by the Sri Lankan Navy. Fisherfolk in the north point out that the number of Indian fisherfolk encroaching into the Sea of Sri Lanka has increased this year in comparison to the last years.
The leader of the national current government is working to make Sri Lanka a colony of India after reviving from the economic crisis. He expressed his views at a public meeting held in Padukka.
The government is trying to break up the CEP and sell it to the Indian companies. The same goes for Sri Lanka Telecom. SLT is a company with a direct impact on our national security. Now they are reportedly considering signing the ACTA agreement with India in March. This agreement would allow Indians to freely conduct business and obtain jobs in Sri Lanka. They could set up shop anywhere and apply for any job they desire. There are many Indians willing to work for lower wages than Sri Lankan workers. Once this happens, the country could see a significant increase in the Indian population. Sri Lanka could even have an Indian majority within a decade. This is the path the current government seems to be taking. The economic crisis has worsened, and while people are struggling to make ends meet, the government is considering compromising Sri Lanka's sovereignty to India. This situation benefits the government because people are too preoccupied with survival to think critically about the country's future. The next step could be accepting Indian rupee as legal tenders in Sri Lanka. If customs are merged, infrastructure is built to connect the two countries, and India gains control of Sri Lankan airports, along with the freedom for Indians to work and do business here, Sri Lankans could become a minority in their own country. No political party seems to have foreseen this danger. Everyone appears to be reliant on India. Sri Lanka's economy wouldn't be revived. It would be lost to India, along with the country's sovereignty. This appears to be the goal of Ranil Wickremesinghe, while the Rajapaksas are putting on a false show. The mission to make Sri Lanka India's 29th state is being implemented.
This opposition raised by parliamentarian Vimal Weerawansa is reasonable. However, when governments of the past made similar decisions concerning China, which is another world superpower, Mr. Weerawansa was silent. This is not an indictment on any one politician, but the hard truth on Sri Lankan politics. One government bends towards India, another to China and back again to India, and so on and so forth. For decades, Newsfirst has reported not with the interest of India or China in mind, but with the interest of Sri Lanka in mind, with the interest of protecting our sovereignty, including that of the Sea of Sri Lanka.
President Ranil Wickremesinghe has directed relevant officials to develop a national program integrating public and private sectors for successful agriculture modernization initiative.
The progress review meeting of the Agriculture Modernization Programme was held under the chairmanship of President Ranil Wickremesinghe.
I'm looking to further improve the organizational structure of the agricultural sector. To achieve this, collaboration across different entities is crucial. We need to move away from siloed operations in separate ministries, provincial councils and private companies, regardless of size. A fragmented approach won't yield results. How much have we spent on agricultural services over the years? This plan seems feasible. We must discuss it further. Working collaboratively is key. Going it alone within the department won't be effective. As an example, consider the Ministry of Agriculture. It has various divisions like animal husbandry and cinnamon production. Let's integrate the agricultural arm of the Mahavali program. Combining irrigation and agriculture under one plan makes perfect sense. We can even factor in freshwater management. Imagine the efficiency of a unified strategy. What should the core elements of this plan be? The first 25 years could focus on collaboration between universities. This would leverage their combined expertise instead of fragmented efforts. We can then move on to the next stage, where all the information is consolidated.
Businessman Dudley Sirasa commented on the purchase of paddy.
The current methods need to be revamped. We can offer our full support to the people. These are small issues. The focus seems to have shifted away from the core challenges faced by farmers. The conversation these days revolves around paddy prices and the opposition neglecting the farmers. Previously, the government standard for a kilogram of rice required a yield of 1.3 kilograms of paddy. That rose to 1.5 kilograms over time, then 1.6. Shavendra has also got to know that this number then rose to 1.8 kilograms. There is a lack of a structured approach. We need a comprehensive program, sir. It's crucial to bring all these stories under one umbrella. My request here is for a program with regulatory power to address these issues. It appears there's some progress on that front. Let's collaborate to develop this program further. Together we can find solutions to the problems related to paddy as soon as possible.
The harvesting for the Maha season has begun in many districts. However, farmers lament that they have been greatly affected by the government withdrawing from the paddy purchasing mechanism. What is the ground reality of this situation?
These are farmers from the Padaviya farming community. About 1,000 acres of farmlands have been cultivated under the Padaviya reservoir, and harvesting season has already begun. These farmers cultivated their crops amidst many challenges such as fertilizer shortages and infestation by pests, in the hope that they will get a fair price for their produce. But this is what the farmers had to say.
The farmers did not get enough money back to pay off their debts. Against such a backdrop, the people are helpless. The biggest service that the government can do for us is to measure the paddy and quote a fair price for our harvest.
Farmers in Polonnarua are also suffering the same plight as the farmers in Anuradhapura. These are farmers of the Mahavali D zone in Dahamvava, Polonnarua.
Even though they purchase paddy from us at a low price, the price of a kilo of rice in the market is 220-260. How is that so? We are asking the government to give us a fair price.
These are farmers from Tihagoda in the Mathura district. Although paddy harvesting is currently underway in the area, these days farmers lament that they are not getting a fair price for their crops.
80 rupees means that the price of every item in the country has increased 3 times to 4 times. How are we to live? No farmer is now benefiting from farming in this country.
Meanwhile, the Minister of Agriculture Mahinda Amaravira says that purchasing paddy at a reasonable price cannot be done by the private sector alone, and there should be government intervention.
I also believe that there is some issue here. We must admit that the Paddy Marketing Board does not have money. If the Paddy Marketing Board had enough funds, then the farmers' harvest could have been purchased at a higher price.
A protest was held this morning in the Sinikugala Hambantota. The protest focused on two issues: a planned solar panel project within the Hambantota Wild Elephant Management Reserve and the ongoing smuggling activities within the reserve.
Do you remember the struggle of the Walsapugala farmers? They demanded a wildlife reserve to protect themselves from wild elephants. Citing this need, 86 agrarian organizations, including the Walava Left Bank Joint Union, launched a 190-day Satyagraha campaign in 2 phases. Their efforts resulted in the gazetting of an elephant management reserve in April 2021. What is the current issue? Farmers say elephants are encroaching on villages due to 2 factors: ongoing smuggling within the elephant reserve and a planned solar panel project in the same area. In response, the Walava Left Bank Joint Farmers Organization, Youth for Change and environmental activists joined forces in a protest today. They are demanding the immediate implementation of the laws and regulations established for the elephant management reserve.
We urge the authorities to immediately publish the laws and regulations gazetted for the Hambantota Wild Elephant Management Reserve to all relevant institutions. We demand the strict protection of all forest areas within the electric fence. We are urging the authorities to stop this. The reserve has been gazetted, and today farmers and villagers cannot enter the reserve, but all other rogues and fraudulent institutions can enter it. Now the elephants have lost their reserve and the people have lost their environment.
Newsfirst with the people.
Up next is a look at the Crime Watch.
Crime Watch.
Shots were fired at a house in Walakumbura in Nagoda Gol. According to the police, no one was injured in the shooting. The police suspect that the shots were fired to intimidate the residents of the house. No details regarding the suspects have been revealed. The owner of the house said that he once served in the Sri Lanka police but was then interdicted after he revealed several irregularities at the police department on social media.
I was interdicted. I was serving at the Cinnamon Gardens Police in Colombo. After I was interdicted, they didn't even pay my salary. I recorded and spoke about corruption inside the police department. What I said hurt the police department. I was then arrested by the Criminal Investigations Department. I responsibly state that this was done to further the interest of the police. As soon as a stone was hurled at the house, I ducked and I ensured my safety by going into my room. When I was going into my room, 2 shots were fired. A few moments after that, I saw someone walking into the house. The person who walked into the house said, "Here are his stuff," and took my tab and my mobile phone that was on the table. He then came out, and a few seconds after that, I heard a motorcycle come by. 2 shots were fired and the bullet casings are here. They are 7.62 bullet casings used for T-56 bullets.
Newsfirst inquired regarding this matter from police spokesperson DIG Nihal Thaldua. He said that the shooting had taken place at the residence of an interdicted police sergeant.
Crime Watch.
Inspector General of Police Deshabandhu Thennakoon stresses that over the next 3 months, the police force will be operating at maximum capacity.
Inspector General of Police Deshabandhu Thennakoon visited Anuradhapura and the Jayashree Mahabodhi and Ruanveli Mahasaya. He obtained blessings from Chief Incumbent of Ruanveli Mahasaya, Most Venerable Pallegama Hemaratana Thero.
සංවිධාත්මක අපරාධ කල්ලිවල
We are aware of the presence of organized criminals. Therefore, in the coming month, we will be increasing our focus on eradicating drug trafficking and the activities of these gangs, as well as on preventing homicides.
මේ මනුෂ්‍ය ඝාතන වැළැක්ව ගැනීම සඳහා වැඩි අවධානයක් යොමු කරනවා. ඔබ දන්නවා මාස 3ක්
For the past 3 months, we've been working on this. With the additional resources of the police, I plan to significantly accelerate and intensify our efforts in the coming week. We'll then maintain maximum pressure throughout the next 3 months.
දිනයක් ඉදිරි මාස 3 තුළදී මද්‍රව්‍ය වලට විරුද්ධව යොදවනවා.
You're with Newsfirst, and up next is a look at Action TV.
According to the Ceylon Electricity Board Act, being an electrical engineer is not the only requirement needed to be appointed as the general manager of the CEB. Even a chartered accountant is a person eligible to be appointed to that position. However, given the overarching power wielded by the electrical engineers of the CEB and the fact that the successive governments have turned a blind eye to this for decades, the financial division of the CEB has become a puppet of the electrical engineers, as chartered accountants are not being allowed to rise to the position of the CEB general manager. This has resulted in the CEB being unable to tender their annual financial statements in time. The CEB has published an interim annual account statement for last year, and according to this interim statement, the CEB has earned an estimated profit of 62 billion rupees. The profit earned by the CEB in the final quarter of last year, that is for the 3 months from October to December, is estimated at 78 billion rupees. As this is only an interim statement of accounts, the value of the profit earned by the CEB could even be higher in the final accounts. The reason for the CEB earning those exorbitant profits last year, in contravention of the provisions of the Electricity Act, is the fact that the Public Utilities Commission of Sri Lanka has allowed the CEB to increase electricity tariffs twice last year, once by 66% and then later by another 18%. The approval granted to both of these tariff hikes have been challenged before the law. Action TV previously highlighted the fact that the CEB in their proposed tariff revision for this year had completely hidden this exorbitant profit that they had earned last year. The PUCSL continues to appear to be oblivious of this. At the end of the discussion last Friday between the heads of the CEB and the PUCSL regarding the tariff revision, we questioned a member who attended that meeting regarding the issue of hiding the profits earned by the CEB in the report submitted for tariff revision.
We did not discuss about that. We only spoke about revising the electricity tariffs. We will speak about this at another media briefing.
The fact that the PUCSL is of the view that a media briefing regarding this matter should be held is a positive sign. However, before doing that, these ladies and gentlemen should understand that it is their duty and responsibility to act according to the powers vested with them under the Act and prevent the CEB from devouring the exorbitant profits that they have earned at the expense of the general public.
In a ceremony attended by DP Education founder Dhammika Pereira, IT certificates were awarded to students who finished their courses on campus today.
Students from the DP Education's IT campus and their parents attended the event held at the Yudhaganava Rajamaha Viharaya in Buttala.
90% of a child's brain development occurs by the age of 5. This makes preschool education crucial. For the past 76 years, our government hasn't prioritized its importance. We have upgraded the preschool system to a smart classroom system. I have already established 1,000 preschools equipped with these facilities. To determine the best implementation strategy, we looked into DP Education. Their approach focuses on self-directed learning, unlike the traditional model where teachers lecture and students passively absorb information. In DP Education classrooms, you won't find students burdened with textbooks. Practical assessments are key, similar to learning to ride a bicycle, which can't be mastered solely through instructions in a book.
Sri Lanka is seeking a 5-month extension to negotiate with creditors over the lawsuit that was filed by Hamilton Reserve Bank.
Sri Lanka is seeking a 5-month extension to a lawsuit filed by a bondholder over the country's historic debt default, hoping for more time to negotiate with private creditors. The lawsuit was filed in July 2022 by Hamilton Reserve Bank Limited, which is seeking full repayment on over $250 million of Sri Lankan dollar bonds that matured that month. The bank claims to hold a significant portion, over 25% of the bonds, potentially allowing them to block any modification to the debt agreements. This is not the first time Sri Lanka has requested a delay. A previous extension was granted in November 2022. However, Bloomberg reported that Hamilton Reserve is objecting to the latest request, saying that the country has kept the bank in the dark about the negotiations despite repeated requests for information. The case remains ongoing in the U.S. District Court of Southern District of New York. Meanwhile, Foreign Minister Ali Sabri recently told Bloomberg that the island nation is prioritizing restructuring obligations to its private creditors as it seeks to fast-track a debt overhaul and exit a sovereign default.
T. Sudhendra Raja, who was handed a life sentence for the murder of former Indian Premier Rajiv Gandhi, has died at the age of 55. His remains were brought to the island yesterday and handed over to the family. His final rites are to be observed tomorrow.
T. Sudhendra Raja, also known as Shantan, who was found guilty for the murder of former Indian Prime Minister Rajiv Gandhi, recently passed away at the age of 55. His body was taken to Jaffna today as he desired to return to Sri Lanka upon his release. His body was brought to Sri Lanka yesterday and taken to the Negombo hospital for the post-mortem examination. His remains were handed over to his family thereafter. The people of Vaunia paid their respects to Shantan today. His remains were then taken to Mankulam in Mullaitivu. After the people of Kilinochchi paid their final respects, the remains were brought to his house in Uduppidi, Jaffna. His final rites are to be observed tomorrow. In 1998, Shantan was sentenced to life for the murder of former Indian Prime Minister Rajiv Gandhi. However, he was granted a pardon in 2022 after serving 32 years of his sentence in prison. He requested to return to Sri Lanka on many occasions, but legal issues barred his request. Thereafter, Shantan fell ill on the 27th of February and was admitted to a hospital in Chennai, where he passed away on the 28th of March.
Pakistani legislators have elected Shehbaz Sharif as the country's Prime Minister following a controversial election last month.
Today, the National Assembly, as the lower house of parliament is called, was slated to elect the Prime Minister Shehbaz Sharif. Sharif, aged 72, served as Prime Minister until August last year when the National Assembly was dissolved to make way for a caretaker government tasked with holding the national election. He is the younger brother of three-time Prime Minister Nawaz Sharif, who founded the Pakistan Muslim League Nawaz, which is an alliance of the Pakistan People's Party to form the government. Pakistan voted on the 8th of February in an election marred by allegations of large-scale rigging and delayed results. Shehbaz prevailed over rival Omar Ayub Khan, backed by the Sunni Ittihad Council, the political group legislator belonging to former Prime Minister Imran Khan's Pakistan Tehreek-e-Insaf party, joined after the PTI was barred from contesting for allegedly violating election laws. Shehbaz, currently the PMLN president, had the backing of nearly 200 legislators in the 336-member House. The winner needed 169 votes.
Elevate your business insight and self-worth with renowned Harvard professor Dr. Boris Groysberg on the 4th, 5th and 6th of March as he joins Sri Lanka's leading business minds, deconstructing and analyzing the world's most successful brands and their inspiring case studies. Join this rare opportunity to participate in an interactive study and discussion series. Entry by reservation only. Call 0777 881 922. Media sponsor Newsfirst.
The annual Bhagavad Gita lecture got underway in Colombo yesterday. Sunandaji delivered a lecture on the 6th chapter of the Bhagavad Gita entitled The Yoga of Meditation.
The annual Bhagavad Gita lecture was sponsored by the Ganapati Chetty Silvanathan Charitable Trust and organized by the Vedanta Institute, Colombo. Sunanda ji delivered a lecture on the 6th chapter of the Bhagavad Gita entitled The Yoga of Meditation.
Where is that instructions manual to understand who is this person? Who are you? Just because you are born and you become an adult doesn't mean you know everything about yourself as a human. What are your potentials? Are you using them? Do you know what you are made up of? Do you know how to handle it? There is no subject in the world that introduces yourself to yourself except the philosophy of the Bhagavad Gita, which is referred to as Vedanta. Vedanta is the philosophy that is contained in this great text, the Bhagavad Gita. And then what you find, I mean, I could go on, but this little introduction should help you understand why do we need to study this? Just to live your life completely.
The 5-day series of lectures will be held from 6:45 p.m. to 8 p.m. at the Buddhist Cultural Center until the 6th of March.
The 94th Battle of the Maroons between Ananda College and Nalanda College for the N.M. Pereira Memorial Challenge Trophy ended in a draw.
Day 2 of the 94th Battle of the Maroons between Ananda College and Nalanda College took center stage at the SSC grounds in Colombo today. Ananda College won the toss and opted to field first. Sadev Samarasinghe scored 84 runs for Nalanda College. Nalanda College captain Sajita Vithanage, with an unbeaten century, was able to ensure that they posted a competitive total before declaring their innings on 277 for the loss of 8 wickets. In reply, Ananda College's Dinanda Athalage posted 71 runs. Kitma Vidana Patirana posted 76 runs. Ananda College posted 286 runs for the loss of 9 wickets before declaring their innings. President Ranil Wickramasinghe also attended the 94th Battle of the Maroons. In honor of the President's presence at the cricket encounter, he was presented a memento. Nalanda College began their second innings and 9 runs behind and posted 120 runs for the loss of 4 wickets before umpires removed the bails off to end the proceedings on day 2.
Sirasa FM, a pioneering force that redefined Sri Lankan radio, celebrated its 30th anniversary yesterday with much pomp and pageantry. A massive crowd attended the anniversary concert organized to celebrate the anniversary. The celebration served to solidify Sirasa's place in the hearts of the people.
2, 3, 4.
A vibrant anniversary concert got underway at the Davindra Mendes ground in Katunayaka. The concert was held under the theme Sirasata Tihai Gaika Gaikavan Tihai. A crowd favorite, Sahara Flash, brought the electrifying music to the stage. We were able to pull off a truly successful anniversary concert, all thanks to the incredible unity within the Sirasa family.
And with that, we wrap up tonight's edition of Primetime News. Thank you very much for joining us. Good night.